Hey everyone, it's Jamie, and I'm here to talk about this beautiful dark moon that's happening in Capricorn today. It's Sunday, so like a little bit after 11 here in New Orleans. So she will be exact, I think, in the next hour or so. So it is happening at 28 degrees of Capricorn. This is an important dark moon. It is the first dark moon of 2026, the year of the fire horse. The Wheel of Fortune, and it's explaining to us a lot of things that we need to kind of get used to as we move forward because there's no going back. And um, the first thing I want to talk about a little bit is about the power of the dark moon. And I remember this has got to be close to 20 years ago. I was driving in my car listening to NPR because those were the days. So simple. Weren't those so simple? And I remember they were talking to a scientist, and I'm going to do seriously the layman's terms of this, but I think you guys can get it. So, the idea of what they discovered in outer space, and this was a time when they were releasing all those beautiful photos where they would show all these galaxies, right? Just hundreds of galaxies in a photo. And it was kind of like the first time, well, at least it was kind of like the first time, I've seen all this. And basically, the scientist was saying what they discovered was the dark spaces in between those galaxies. I think I'm remembering this right. It was dark matter. That was the void. And that meant there was more galaxies, basically infinite galaxies inside the dark matter. We just couldn't see it. And I just remember the interviewer going like what? So the possibilities were kind of endless, right? But that's when it clicked to me that dark matter, that is where everything is birthed from. The void. That's where, and it was really interesting at that time for me to be thinking about that because, I was immediately thinking like, just, the bad rap the darkness gets, right? This idea of darkness, and usually we associate darkness with depression or evil or bad things, scary things. What's under the bed, we don't know, it's dark. What's in the closet, we don't know, it's dark and scary, right? Especially when we're kids. And then here's this scientist saying from the dark matter, because we could see all these beautiful galaxies and stars, right? And their colors, they're just amazing. But basically he was saying, oh well, actually though, but in the void, in the darkness, that is how they're created. That is where more things come from. So bring us forward now to the dark moon in Capricorn, correct? And so when they were talking about that, that changed everything. And now we're in a time where people are talking about plasma and what that means and how that is changing physics, if you will. And again, you guys, I dabble in this stuff. If you want me to start naming theories, this is the wrong channel, but it still goes along with the idea. I do hope you guys find some comfort in the fact that I do kind of keep up with this stuff too. Sidebar. But now they're talking about plasma and the idea of how we can't see it, but this is the idea where another idea of like creation and plasma is everything. The sun is made of plasma. We get those flares. And but it's this idea of a third, I don't want to say a third wall because I don't know if that's an actual thing, but so there's like us, like 3D beings, our intention, and then where does those intentions go and how are they made? And some people are, theorizing, and again, I'm doing very layman's term. It goes kind of into this plasmic field that we can't see, and then that's where things develop. Okay. Um, and again, to me, this isn't like groundbreaking only because, you know, I think when you work in these fields, and I'm obviously blanket stating a lot of stuff, but anyway, because I've been working in this field, but also the way that I was brought up, with my mom and the things that she exposed me to, but it was there's things of like infinite possibilities. But the idea of, but even in the church and the idea of the Trinity, right? Which I think, so like again, three spaces. I do believe there's more obviously than three spaces, but just trying to keep it simple with this. Father, Son, Holy Ghost was what we were always taught. And then, for the full moon, we talked about Juno, Jupiter, and Minerva, right? That power of three. Um, and so we're moving into this time now, and I think I don't think it's kind of funny. I also think it's kind of annoying, but um, because now to me, we are in this age of Aquarius. It's the year 2026. We got the fire horse running, we got the wheel of fortune spinning, and we've got all these new discoveries coming to us, right? Which isn't bananas because the age of Aquarius, right? Pluto's in Aquarius. It's going to be transforming the way we thought about things, right? Aquarius is the cosmos. Aquarius is ruled by Uranus, that revolution. So, so all that energy is here. So here we are at this Capricorn dark moon, and Capricorn is the sign of work, right? And people are, I don't know. I mean, and again, I guess you got to get people to keep looking at your channel, but like, we thought about this wrong, or, we now know this. And the things that I want to express to you is that as long as you start practicing and coming from that heart space, that's how things are going to start changing and shifting. And I've thought this for a long time. Um, and I think it was pretty much shown kind of when Uranus went into Taurus, right? That fixed Earth in 2018. And now Uranus is getting ready to move into Gemini. And I'm going to do a video about the energies of winter. Okay, so I'm going to put that out in this coming week so we can get more into that. Because again, being present is also being shown how we create. And this is all going in, this is all tying into the way we work with Capricorn. So don't think I'm just blithering on here. So the idea in this age of Pisces that we're coming out of, Capricorn was just work, 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 practical, put your nose to the grind, work. I have friends that are Capricorns. One of my best friends is a Capricorn. She's a workhorse, buddy. Like she gets it done. Um, and I see a lot of people being like, this is a powerful new moon because, write out your goals, because you got to you can work on them and all this stuff. But I want to highly express the difference about how we need to start working. The old way of work and was making a list. This is what we're going to do. So we're going to get done. The new way of working is coming from that heart space. That the new way of working is being more intentional, right? I love a good list. Don't get me wrong. I love making lists. I will make lists because it helps me organize things. It helps me organize my thoughts. Um, but the idea is now when I make my list, this is kind of free throwing and making this list. I know these are things I got to get done. Will I get them all done in one day? I don't know. Will other things get moved around the list? Sure. But it's coming from this place of alignment. It's coming from working with that masculine and feminine energy together. The way we work has to be different than the way we worked before. That idea of that grind mentality is fading away. Okay. And this is because Capricorn no longer has Pluto in it. It's been transformed. Pluto's moved into Aquarius. And we have to remember that Capricorn is the sea goat. And we talk about this a lot. And that sea goat um, can run up mountains, but it can also navigate the waters, right? And so Capricorn's ruled by Saturn now. And Saturn is that last planet between the personal planets and then the outer planets, right? All the outer planets move real slow. The personal planets move fast. Mars, Venus, Mercury, Sun, Moon, right? I guess, yeah, the Sun moves about a thing a day. So yeah, it was pretty fast. And so the idea of Capricorn now, understanding how to bring what's out in the cosmos, like the sea part of the sea goat, right? Um, The sea goat now knows to take a break, put its little hooves in the water. Um, think about that. That's that feminine side of the sea goat, right? That esoteric side, that bringing in creation, okay? And then the masculine side of the sea goat, right? And I don't like talking about masculine, feminine so choppy, but this is just where we are. We'll move into more of a seamless a description, I'm sure, as time goes forward, right? And so the idea then that Capricorn's masculine side can take it and put it into action, right? That earth side, right? Making things tangible, right? Um, and so understanding, okay, Capricorn still works. Capricorn likes to work, but Capricorn is going to be working differently. We're going to be working differently. Um, you know, and you can see it happening, kind of like playing out on a world stage, if you will. So, and it would be the idea of the old way would be, um, I call your mom a mean name, and then you get mad, and then you push me, and then there's a fight on the playground, right? And that's how things used to work. Okay, these are very simple terms. But now maybe someone calls your mom a mean name, and then you're like, oh, okay, hold up. I can see maybe there's a lot of trauma going on here. I don't have to participate, right? You have other options on how to do things. And so the idea of Capricorn working differently, that is how things change. And you can see it playing out in old storylines, especially with our politics here in America. I don't want to go too far in it because I don't want to get this flagged on YouTube, but just the idea of how they show up and they think, oh, this is how people are going to respond. And people are responding in lots of different ways, right? Capricorn is working this out differently because Capricorn understands it's got to work from a different place. It's got to work in alignment with its feminine and masculine sides, right? Um, Okay, I'm going to share my screen right here for a second. Let's see if this works. Okay, so as you can see at the top of the screen, you can see the sun is at 28 degrees at this time that I'm making the video, and then the moon is at 27 degrees. And you can see they are flanked on either side by Venus, Mercury, Mars, okay? Pluto's in there, and then on the other side of Pluto is our sweet Vesta, and then on the other side of Mars is Juno. She's not in this conjunction, but she has now moved into Capricorn, which I think is very interesting because we were just talking about the full moon and Cancer and Jupiter and Juno, right? So, um, something happened in Capricorn season, which was extremely interesting, and it's going to happen again, I'm pretty sure in Aquarius. But during Capricorn season, the sun, Mars, and Venus were all at the exact same degree. They were all at, I think, 16 degrees of Capricorn together. They moved to 17 degrees of Capricorn together, and then they moved to 18 degrees of Capricorn together. And then Venus finally kept moving. The sun, kept moving, and then Mars. So they kind of spread it out. They kind of spread out. So to me, the way that I read the sun, I read the sun as our solar plexus. Others do not, and that's totally fine. But I read the sun as our solar plexus, in our chakra system, and that solar plexus is our self-esteem. That's how we know ourselves. That's how we present. That's where we come from. And so for 3 days, right, we still have that beautiful number three, right, coming in. For 3 days, Mars and Venus, our masculine and feminine, and the sun all sat together in ritual. And to me, in Capricorn, right, the way we work. And that was just signaling to me one more time, we've got to get this alignment with this masculine and feminine energy. And I know I talk about this a lot, but it's interesting, to talk about it, kind of theorize about it, but then to see it come through on the chart. So, the sun's rays, right? Plasma. Okay. just kind of going back to that coming in, but it is that alchemy, right? The sun brings in this alchemy. And so they were all there talking, getting, this alchemy, this mis kind of, changing form, right? Alchemy is changing one substance into another, right? But it is the idea of using magic. Remember the alchemists wanted to turn lead into gold, right? And so the sun is changing Mars and Venus. To me, it's taking them out of that toxic energy that they've been in and bringing them into this divine energy, bringing them into this energy of equals, into this energy of working together in alignment. And so that happened for 3 days, and then they moved on. But the time of this dark moon, when the moon meets the sun at 28 degrees. Again, the 28 degrees is a sign of mastery, is a degree of mastery for me. And the sun and the moon get to hug and they get to have this deep conversation, right? They're in the void, they are in the darkness. There's no illumination there. And they get to have this deep conversation in the void. And the sun gets to whisper to the moon about all the magic that happened between the masculine and the feminine, between Mars and Venus. And then the moon takes all this information and then she's going to move into Aquarius, right? When we're in this age of Aquarius, she's going to meet up with Venus and Pluto and Vesta, right? And speak to them. Tell them what the sun told her as she keeps moving forward. And then from that, we're going to see how we interpret it, right? Because Aquarius is the cosmos, Aquarius is the revolution. Pluto is that transmutation, that transformation, and that death of that old way of being, right? So it is that old way of thinking. Um, and we're going to move forward from that. What's what's funny is that when I was thinking about coming on and making the video, obviously today, I knew I was going to do it today. And this week, things were happening. And I needed some help navigating a contract. So I called my friend Tammy, and then I was talking to my friend Heidi, and she was talking about some things that were going on kind of with her business. And so I kept using the word manager. And I was like, Tammy, do you want to be my manager? And then I was telling Heidi, do you need me to step in and be your manager? Right. And it was kind of like this running joke. But then this morning, when I was thinking about making the video today, I was thinking about Capricorn. And Capricorn used to just be the manager. Okay. And I thought that was so funny. It's here to tell you that Capricorn has now is more than the manager, right? Capricorn is working with this idea of coming from the heart space. Um, Coming from the unknown, right? Capricorn was all about certainty. I know if I do this, or if I study this, or if I figure this out, this is going to happen. And because Capricorn is moving more into that sea side of the sea goat, it understands how to work with uncertainty. And that is what we're learning, especially moving forward, especially with the fire horse, especially with the Wheel of Fortune, because all of this wants to move pretty quickly. And we can feel uncertain, like, well, I'm not really sure. Um, and the way that we get more out of this uncertainty, and we've been working with this, especially if you've been following me since COVID, um, because there was a lot of uncertainty there when that first started popping off, as they say. Um, but it is that idea of grounding, and it is that idea of alignment, and it is that idea of coming from the heart space. And so if you move to the middle, right, things can go around you, and you can kind of understand what's happening in work within the uncertainty. And Capricorn is going to get really good at that. Okay. Um, because right now, and I wrote this down because you can see um, the sun, the moon, Mercury, and Mars are all sextiling Saturn. Okay. The sun, moon, Mercury, Mars, and Venus are trining Uranus and then sextiling Neptune. Um, Okay, so our personal planets, the way that we um, see ourselves, are trining and sextiling those outer planets, right? Um, those big planets that move really slowly. because it is this time of transformation. And then you'll see that they're also um, all squaring Chiron. Okay, so the Sun, Moon, Mercury, Mars, and Venus, or maybe Venus not. Venus isn't squaring Chiron, but the Sun, Moon, Mercury, Mars, and Jupiter, right? Big Jupes. Okay. Um, they're all squaring Chiron, and Chiron is that wound, right, that we're healing. And a lot of people think that that's the wound that can never be healed. I don't believe that, especially in this age of Aquarius. I think it is here to be healed, and that we can move forward. Um, so it's that building block, right? But again, it's that square. How are we going to build upon this in order to work differently, in order to work more in alignment? Okay, we've got to listen to what Uranus is saying, who's getting ready, who's at the end of Gemini, at the end of Taurus, 27 degrees. Um, point of mastery, getting ready to move into Gemini. What is Neptune and Saturn telling us? Okay, getting ready to move into Aries together. So again, I'm going to do a video on the energies of winter. But this dark moon in Capricorn is setting up that energy of the changes here. Okay. The way we work is going to be different. The way we work isn't going to look like how it used to, okay? Because now we're in this age of Aquarius, and the way we work has got to come from a space of alignment. So this is a very powerful dark moon, and it is important to me to rest on these dark moons, right? That's when the sun and the moon, right, our most beloved, ourselves. We can to have this dark, dark and deep conversation with ourselves, right? So give yourself that time to decompress, relax, just be, right? Maybe not doom scroll, maybe not watch the news. And then when that moon starts to get that illumination, that's when things will start to make sense, right? Because we have that time between when we start to get illumination in that first quarter moon to kind of figure out what we want to work on in the lunar cycle. And if you guys are interested in this, let me know because you can sign up for Moon School. We're naming it Cosmic Softness because we're renaming it Cosmic Softness because wanting the masculine and feminine to work together, to me, it came from a very soft place. So that's why we're calling it Cosmic Softness. And also because before, you know, astrology kind of came from like a terse, I always say old white man astrology, but like this terse place where like you're doomed. This is your fate. Are you going to be able to hold the weight of the world? And it's just like, okay, enough. We're moving into a new era. We're moving into a new time. I do believe we've come out of that Kali Yuga. I do believe while we were in that Kali Yuga and the age of Pisces, it was really hard to break out of cycles. But now we are. We're out of that. So we can heal these wounds. We can break out of these cycles. Um, we just have to have that conscious awareness. The way we work on it has got to be different than the way that we have been working on it. And it doesn't mean the way that were working on it was wrong. It just means you're going to add to it. Okay, so I don't want you guys to freak out and be like, "What I've been doing this," and if it works, great, it works. Um, but also, in order to keep things moving forward, we've got to move into this enlightenment. And that enlightenment to me is that alignment. Okay, I'm going to read from, I got to put on my spectacles. I'm going to read from the book. I was gifted these earrings from my friend Carrie, so I thought I'd wear them today because they're super cute. I can wear these for parties. And then the Kali Oracle by Alina Fairchild, my friend Bipasha, she gifted this to me. And always as a reminder, when you're working with decks and other deities that might not be your culture, reverence people, reverence, okay? And I'm pretty sure I'm preaching to the choir about this one, but reverence. So I just wanted to read this because um, she came to me when I was kind of shuffling the cards, and you can see behind her what to me looks like the new moon, and we're in this dark moon, and she's the number three. So again, that idea, masculine, feminine alignment, that's three, right? The idea of Juno, Jupiter, Minerva, three. Um, sun and moon manifestation possibility, three. Okay, so I think we're going to really be getting into understanding because before we were into this, you know, father-son duo. We talked about people talk about the Holy Ghost. They're like, I don't know what the Holy Ghost is. Okay. To me, again, the Holy Ghost always made sense. It was that third space. Um, but now I think it's going to go back more to that masculine and feminine third space. And you guys know what I mean. I don't know if that's the right term, but I think you get what I'm saying. So anyway, the number three is I think, going to be coming up prominently, working with the Trinity, but the Trinity is going to be explained differently because we're going to learn how it works differently. Okay, so Kala Kalidhara. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Kalidhara. So the number three. You think about third eye. Okay, all that stuff. I just noticed that on her. So anyway, her card came up for me today, and I think she talks beautifully about the dark moon. So I'm just going to read just a little blurb from her. Okay. She is not bound by appearances, opinions, or material limitations. She is both the void and the infinite creative potential that arises from it. Do not be afraid of uncertainty. If you feel you are without resources, take comfort now. Where there is lack, she restores abundance. She can bring forth exquisite blessing and glorious manifestation from the sacred expanse of nothingness. Your soul can rely upon her completely. Cast your fears away. Hers is the power of the universe combined with the generosity of grace. And I just think she encapsulates this dark moon of Capricorn, especially moving into Aquarius season. It is important for us to see the abundance. It's important for us to understand if we come, if we stop coming from a place of just linear thinking, but move into that heart, you know, they always say all things are possible because they are, because we're allowing it, we're allowing. And part of that divine feminine energy is allowing and receiving. And so the way we work on allowing and receiving is going to be different. The way we work on abundance is going to be different. The way we talk about it is going to be different. Um, and just the way that we move forward is going to be different because we're going to be coming more from a place of alignment. Okay, friends, I'm going to leave it here. Thank you. This was a little bit of a long one, but we're moving into just a different time and energy, and it's important. It doesn't have to be as confusing and hard as maybe some people will make it. It can be maybe a little uncomfortable. It can be a little confusing. It could be like any other thing when you're learning, and we're just like, okay. But the reality of it is, we're going to catch on quickly, okay? Because there is such a lot of energy, good energy coming on the planet, right? The way the stars and the planets are aligning are really here to support us to move forward, okay? They're not here about punishing us, okay? Um, there is always that lower energy of the planet and the higher energy of the planet, okay? So we do have to take that into consideration. Um, I think sometimes people get nervous because I'm always such an optimist. But I also think we're living from a really low vibe right now. So it's okay to bring in the good vibes and get us there. Because if we're not living in alignment, our lives will show us. If we're coming from a place of distrust or uncertainty or manipulation, all those lower vibes, our lives will show it to us. So I think it's going to be easy or to recalculate. Could be a little growing pains as always, friends, as always, a little bit of growing pains, but it's there. And Capricorn, our sweet, sweet sign of work, our sweet, sweet sea goat, is going to be there to help us learn how to work differently, learn how to work in alignment, and learn how to work with allow and abundance. Okay, the power of three, right? Um, with sea goat, you have two, right? You got sea, you got goat, and then you got the possibilities. Okay. All right, friends. I'll see you in a couple days. We'll talk about the energies of the winter months because we have a lot of planets moving in February. Aquarius season, once the sun moves into Aquarius in about 24 hours or so, the wheel is really going to start turning. So we'll talk about that next. All right, everybody, enjoy your dark moon. Work with those vibes in the sense of being quiet and seeing what wants to come in. All right, till next time.